This is the story of a church that didn't just survive history, it shaped it. In the heart of Norfolk, Virginia, First Baptist Church, Butte Street, has stood for more than 225 years through slavery and freedom, segregation, resistance, progress, and pain. But this isn't just a timeline of events, it's a testimony of faith in action, of a people who built more than a building. They built a legacy. One brick, one voice, one generation at a time. Chapter 1, Origin. Before there were pews, before there were walls, there was a river. And on the other side of it, a people determined to worship God on their own soil. This is where the story of First Baptist Church, Butte Street, begins.
I want to welcome you to the historic First Baptist Church, the oldest Baptist church in the city of Norfolk, black or white. This church family will turn 225 years old in July. To this congregation belongs the distinction of being Norfolk's most unusual church. Now, it happened like this. Nearing the end of the 18th century, our forefathers grew weary of crossing the Elizabeth River to worship over there where Court Street is. Every Sunday, they had to get on these boats that were falling off the boats. It was a terrible situation. So they petitioned the Virginia Portsmouth Association for permission to hold worship services on the north side of the Elizabeth River. And thus, the First Baptist Church was organized in 1800 by Elder David Briggs and Thomas Edwards.
Their first sanctuary wasn't a sanctuary at all. It was a salt box, a simple structure that became sacred ground.
In 1855, the Portsmouth and Norfolk Baptist Church officially became Court Street as you know it today. And you notice that Court Street sort of looks like us. They want the same thing to look like.
But they wouldn't stay in the salt box forever. The church grew, and with it, the need for structure, leadership, and faith that could weather fire and rejection.
This was not an easy task. It was just a riff about so many things. We were here, and there were more blacks, coloreds at this church than whites. But we were carrying on, and they would not let us do much of anything. They wanted to leave us to go to Coleman Street, to Catherine Street. They wanted to go to the Episcopal Church anywhere they could get away from us. And I just don't know why. But anyway, they say that the reason is that the colored men were sitting too close to the white women. That was one reason. Another reason is they had some black or colored, I can't say colored very well, but I'm trying to say it today, colored. They had some colored ministers that were very good ministers, but they didn't want them to preach. They did not want them to tell them, "Thus saith the Lord." They wanted to do it themselves. And it just went on and on. It was something all the time. So finally, they started pulling away from us. And that was fine, because at that time, the Lord sent us the 5th pastor of this church, and his name was Reverend James Mitchell.
Reverend Mitchell was an unusual and unique person. However, 1 year later, after his becoming pastor for the congregation, his wife died, leaving him with young children that he needed care for. Even so, Reverend Mitchell was very active with the Portsmouth Baptist Association and with the American Colonization Society. But remember, he had young children that needed to be cared for. In 1817, a number of the white members of the congregation, because the congregation was made up of white and black members. The black members, some freed, some slaves. Some of the white members left the congregation to form the Cumberland Street Baptist Church, which later claimed the name the First Baptist Church of Norfolk. Reverend Mitchell had living arrangements with his servant living in the home to help with the care of the young children that caused other disruptions within the church. And of course, gossip started about the living arrangements. Reverend Mitchell, this unique Christian, married a black woman named Lucy on February 16th, 1839. And you will recognize that this is well before the Civil War. At that time, the state of Virginia had a law that if ministers married an interracial couple, the minister would be fined $250, a sizable amount of money at that time. So Reverend Mitchell and Lucy, the black woman, were married by a Catholic priest, and their license was signed by two black women, Clarissa and Elizabeth. Time passes, and by 1848, Reverend Mitchell is older and his health is declining. As was the custom during that time, for the monthly church conferences, deaths were recorded. In the March 1849 records, it reads, Elder James Mitchell passed February 20th, 1849, age 80 years old. Remember now that he and Lucy were married in 1839, and 10 years later, Reverend Mitchell passes. Reverend Mitchell's legacy was one of helping the members of his congregation. By the time he passed, most of the white members had withdrawn from the church. However, the clerk of the church was black. Many of the leaders in the church were, and he gave them an opportunity to determine the destiny and the activities of the church. One of the legacies of this young man, the Englishman who came in 1806, was that in 1830, Reverend Mitchell, 10 black trustees, 4 white trustees bought a plot of land on East Butte Street in Norfolk. Thanks to these men, that is the plot of land on which our church now stands.
This was never just about religion. It was about resistance, education, and transformation. Even in the 1800s, First Baptists believed in the power of knowledge.
Ms. Mary S. Peake was born in Norfolk in 1823. Her mother was a free colored woman and her father was a white man. When she was 6 years old, her mother sent her to Alexandria to attend school. She remained there for 10 years, residing with her aunt. While at the school, Mary Peake received an excellent education and her English skills were second to none. She also learned needlework and dressmaking. Her aunt was a devoted Christian and was a great influence on Mary Peake. There was no book Mary loved more than the Bible. When Mary turned 16 years old, she returned to Norfolk. She united with First Baptist Church on Butte Street. The pastor was Reverend James Mitchell, the 5th pastor of this church. Reverend Mitchell was a good man and a father to the colored people. He never loved slavery. His private opinion was against it. However, he was cautious in his expression of this sentiment. Mary Peaks was able to teach black children to read in corners of this church, under the stairs, and outside it as well. She also taught children to read under the Emancipation Oak Tree located at Hampton Institution, which is now university. Whenever Mary had her books with her and she sneaked to teach black children to read, the results were those children who hardly knew the alphabet began to read with great readiness and strength. Mary S. Peak, a member of the First Baptist Church in 1893, taught thousands of black children to read in the corners, in the hallways, on the church ground, and under the trees.
They taught, they worshiped, prepared their children, and they prepared a church. And when the doors opened in 1906, they walked into something they had already built in spirit.
The church was constituted in July of 1800. The church opened its doors on May the 6th, 1906, and the congregation sang, "Holy, holy, holy, Lord God Almighty." The church can seat comfortably 1,500 persons. The church served as a center for training for the Norfolk 17, the 17 black students that integrated Norfolk Public Schools in 1958. The Moeller organ behind me has 21 ranks, and it has 1,281 pipes. Some of the pipes you will hear the music from, the other ones are there for decorations. The Ready Academy Christian School was established in 2004. The Murray Center was dedicated on June 26, 2005. The cost of this building was $60,000. That's all. And we were so proud to be here. Now, there are two very impressive views in the sanctuary, and I want you to turn around and see this. One is facing the pulpit, where I'm standing right here, where the choir is. And there's a big sign up there, and it reads, "One Lord, one faith, and one baptism." The other view is facing that window right there. I'm looking at. You can turn around and look at it too. And that is a beautiful picture of John the Baptist baptizing Jesus. I've returned at the bottom down there, and there you see the writers of the four Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about the windows. All of the big windows have a little window inside. You see that little window? Every little window tells a story all the way around. Every little window tells a story. Now, I'm sure you know what that window right there is saying. Am I right or wrong? Alpha and Omega. Oh, yeah. I figured you would know that. The Lord is the beginning of everything, and the Lord is the end of everything. Sometimes if you come back another time, I'll tell you about the little windows. We have an elevator behind, over to the side, and it's 47 years old. And why? Well, what are you all doing with an elevator? Well, this is why we have an elevator, because the morticians had so much trouble bringing the caskets around those steps to get in here, that they asked us, if you can do anything to help us, I wish you would put an elevator there. And that's why it's there. But what he really didn't know is that time was going to pass. And all of us with these bad legs and bad feet, we all need that elevator. Now, all of the hardwood that you see around on our seats, this was done by our forefathers. I wonder if we could have come here and gotten on our knees to do all that carving all around with mallet and chisel until it was finished. Our forefathers did that for us.
This is the origin, not just the founding of a church, but the beginning of a legacy that refuses to be erased. that legacy continues. Chapter 2, its resilience. What makes a church resilient? Not just the ability to endure, but the choice to stand, to serve, and to sacrifice. When Norfolk resisted justice, First Baptist Butte Street chose something different. It chose to lead.
Reverend E. Paul Sims was the 17th pastor. He gave to us 21 years of faithful service. In 1958, when the Virginia and Norfolk powers that be chose to close the doors of the white junior highs and the high schools but did not close Booker T, they did that to prevent admission of these 17 students who had been downtown to be tested.
This was massive resistance, a state-sanctioned blockage to stop school integration. First Baptist opened its basement and said, "Come in, you will learn here."
This church played an important role in the civil rights movement in the 50s, when it voluntarily allowed local Black teachers to educate the Norfolk 17 in the church who were locked out of the public schools for almost a year because they were attempting to integrate them. This movement to thwart integration was called Massive Resistance and was led by the governor of Virginia and other state leaders and politicians. These Norfolk students are shown in a photograph right outside the front of the church in a glass case. There may be many young people or other people in this church who don't even know this photograph is there and its significance. Please take a look one day. My relationship to this group of brave students is that I was also locked out of the public school that my parents sought to have me integrate at the age of 9 in Charlottesville, Virginia. This happened in 4 cities in the state of Virginia: Norfolk, Charlottesville, Arlington, and Farmville. It was no easy road after the schools were reopened by court order due to the entrenched racism that existed at the time. But we persevered with God and the Black church behind us. It is ironic that I am a part of a church some 60 years later that supported parents and students like myself to achieve basic human rights. It must be my calling to give back to this church and this community, just as I was nurtured and supported by my church 60 years ago.
It wasn't just students who found refuge. City leaders, too, have long recognized First Baptist's commitment to equity and to action.
I can't remember a time that First Baptist Church and its congregation and its members have not been a part of Norfolk's growth and development. If when I was in college, 40 years ago, I guess, thereabout, I took a course and the title was Eyes on the Prize, and a reference the Norfolk 17. And if you're going to talk about the Norfolk 17, you have to talk about First Baptist Church. And so I became very familiar with the contribution that First Baptist Church's members and the church as a whole played just during the civil rights era. But it predates that. First Baptist Church has been a cornerstone in the city of Norfolk on so many different fronts. And more recently, what you are doing, the church, along with the development, the community development arm with Aspire and other programs that the church is doing on behalf of the beloved community, the city. You could just stay in your four walls and be just fine, but that's not First Baptist. First Baptist really believes that the church is the beloved community. And so with Aspire and with the partner with Dr. Newby and with the health fairs and just educating not only your members, but educating the members of the city. First Baptist is that type of congregation, that type of church. And so the impact that First Baptist is having on the city of Norfolk, it is tremendous, and we appreciate it. We could not do it without a First Baptist church. There's no way that the city government can be in the places, in the spaces. We don't have the influence. We don't have the listening ear that a pastor and church and people have. So without a pastor and people, the government will not be able to gather the people and help them to live better lives, more holistic lives. So there's not a time that I can think of in my life that First Baptist has not been at the forefront of change. You know, First Baptist has longevity. When you speak of an organization that has been constant for over 200 years, it gives credibility. Longevity brings credibility, brings trust. So if an event is happening at First Baptist or the leadership is speaking on a topic, and that leadership is from First Baptist, I would tell you, the mayors, listen, I and my predecessor, the pastor and people of First Baptist Church have always had that relationship with city government. Why? Because of longevity. And more importantly, because of trust and mutual respect. I and my predecessors have always called on First Baptist to pray for the city, to opine on direction and guidance. That's because of stability and being a constant in our city. And so that has come with time. And we certainly appreciate it. And so the longevity that First Baptist has, again, speaks volumes of the place that First Baptist has in the city of Norfolk. And so we really appreciate that longevity.
The church didn't just speak for change, it embodied it. Every meal served, every classroom opened, every soul embraced was a sign that love outlasts opposition.
My history with First Baptist Butte Street goes all the way back to previous pastors with Pastor Murray. And so First Baptist Church Butte Street has been a force of nature, if you will, and always being, number one, a church that has been community oriented. I love the fact that the church has instituted a school for young minds to make sure that our children are properly educated. And then the things that they do on a regular basis to engage with people, to help folks who are needy, not just folks who are looking for a handout, but people who are looking for help. They just want assistance. And First Baptist Church Butte Street is that church and that place in Norfolk where people can find help and they can find assistance. At my church, we have a saying that we're meeting the needs of people. And I believe that that saying is equally as applicable to First Baptist Church Butte Street. If you were not meeting the needs of people, you would not be able to survive for 225 years. Not just the community needs, or rather I should say not just the spiritual needs on Sunday, but the community needs as well. You're looking at people from a holistic perspective, and that is, and making sure you're relevant, and that is what has made First Baptist Church Butte Street more than just historic in name, but actually historic in what they do. One of the things that comes to mind, because I chair the Brown versus Board of Education Scholarship Foundation, is the role that First Baptist Church Butte Street played when the governor of Virginia would rather shut down schools than educate Black children and white children together. And as a church, they could have easily said, that's not our problem. We preach the gospel, we save souls, right? But what they chose to do was go out to the hedges and the highways and find those children and make sure those teachers were paid and bring those children in and make sure that they had an education so that they didn't have what we call now educational slippage, right? From being out of class, and to make sure that they had a safe place to go, a hot meal for their little bellies, and that they could be educated. And so that to me is just the foundation of not just talking about the good works of Christ, but also being about the good works of Christ.
Resilience isn't just survival, it's faith in action. And at First Baptist Church, resilience has always looked like boldness, like truth, like love. Chapter 3, Members' Impact. Buildings don't breathe, programs don't praise. It's the people who give a church its voice, its strength, and its testimony. And at First Baptist Butte Street, the people are the story.
Sister Elizabeth Barnes is a lifetime member of the historic First Baptist Church. She was baptized at the age of 9 by Reverend Richard H. Bolin, Jr. Elizabeth was involved in so many things at this church. She loved working for the Lord and has dedicated herself to giving of the best to her master. Now, Elizabeth, we are very happy to have you here today, and I'm going to ask you a few questions. You are the oldest active member of First Baptist Church. You have worked hard at this church for many years. Tell us some of the things that you have done.
Some of the things. Okay, I started out with beginners church, children's church, and I graduated to preteen and teen, and I finally became a Sunday school teacher. I worked with the children's ministry and the women's ministry.
How many times have you been the president of Usher Board number 2? How many times?
Oh, more than I can remember. And for a while, I was also the head of all of the ushers. I was the council. I've you name it, I've done it all.
And that's what. Tell me about your work with the anniversary.
I worked there 30 years.
Tell us some of the things y'all were doing.
We always selected a visiting minister. We had dinners for the church. Oh, we thought of something. Every year we thought of something different, and we would do it. And it was always a lot of fun doing it.
That's excellent.
I enjoyed every minute of it. And you.
Some words of wisdom. What are some things that we need to know to do in this church now? What is it that we need to do?
Some of the things you need to know, if you haven't started to, then learn how to trust in God, because that is a must. And many people don't do it and don't realize that they're doing it. But when you trust, you got everything. You got what you need, you got what you want, got what you will have, and you're dealing with God that is not going to fail you. And that you need to realize, know, and make that top of your list. So I would say that trust, you cannot beat it. And keep it going. If you got it going now, keep it going. If you haven't got it going, get it, because it's good for you.
The witness of Sister Barnes is echoed in every member who's grown here from the youngest ready student and to the most seasoned usher. This is where people find a purpose and a place.
Ready, which means reaching, educational, aspiring, dynamic youth. I'm going to say it again because some of you look at it and you say they just think it's ready. We're going to be ready. And we are going to be ready. But it's an acronym that says reaching, educational, aspiring, dynamic youth is God's school. It opened in September 2004 with 22 students and 2 grade levels, pre-kindergarten 3 and pre-kindergarten 4. And now is in its 21st year, which it serves 177 students and 8 grade levels from kindergarten, pre-kindergarten 3 through the 5th grade. Yes, give us a round of applause. Ready Academy has always had a holistic approach to education, where we educate the child spiritually first, academically, culturally, physically, social, and emotionally. You can find some of the things that we are doing on our website because we post them often. Yesterday, we had the most wonderful Black History program where the students learned about jazz. And you should have seen how they work. We are blessed with a phenomenal PSTA, Parent Student Teacher Association, and we can gladly proclaim, now y'all listen, that we have a first-time, new, paid in cash, $67,000 van that our parents and supporters worked hard to obtain for us. They paid that in cash. They took a check to the dealership and paid. Where do you hear a school doing that? Okay. We celebrate our alumni during our kindergarten graduation. And we have high school, college, and now graduate school alumni. Ready Academy, and many of them are honor students. Most importantly, Ready, again, is God's school. And everybody works hard. We certainly want to continue to carry out the vision given to Pastor Emeritus.
For the Murrays, impact meant more than leading from the pulpit. It meant raising up the next generation, one hand at a time.
So Ready Academy was a vision that the Lord gave Robert. He gave it to First Baptist. They embraced it. And it's just been amazing just to see it develop. Definitely a team effort. Had a very dynamic school board that started even before the school started. But once we did open, Mr. Charles Corporal Jr. was the chair, and he was very passionate about education from Norfolk 17 and First Baptist Church. We think that's one of their prime ministries is education. So he was the chair, and after so many years, Deacon Lisa Anderson was the chair, and currently Dr. Deacon Barry Brown is the chair. So the school board is very passionate about Ready Academy. There were 5 of us who started this after Pastor gave the vision. It was Sister Rosa Edwards, the assistant director, Deaconess Trovine Artist, our volunteer and special projects coordinator, Sister Thelma Hardy, finance officer, and Sister Sherry Brooks, who was our office manager, along with myself. So when we first started out in one room, wondering, okay, Lord, when you gave Pastor the vision, where do we go now? He just kind of led us all the way. We have very dedicated husbands who spent those long nights with us. Brother Casey Edwards is responsible for all the beautiful trees on the lawn there. Deacon Joseph Artist started our first computer lab. And we had Brother Stanley Hardy and Brother Anthony Brooks Brother Brooks is still there cooking up the meals for the students. He's awesome. And of course, Robert was there in those long days and nights. The husbands would be right there helping us work. So it took a lot of effort, a lot of volunteers, a lot of donors who mostly came from First Baptist Church, who still are doing that. And after 18 years, three of us retired, and we left this in the very capable hands of Sister Fatima Jonah, the current principal, Sister Gail Mills, assistant principal, Reverend Michelle Logan, who is the liaison and curriculum developer, and we also left Sister Hardy and Sister Brooks, still a part of the admin team. So education is a ministry in and of itself. I believe it's a ministry that the Lord has given First Baptist, and that they will be committed to Ready Academy for years to come. We are just so impressed by our students because they love the Lord, they love learning, they love each other, they love leadership. You know, you can tell a Ready Runner, and we tell them, when you lead this school, you need to represent us. And so you're aware of a tradition we've started where now we have high school and college graduates who were once Ready Runners, and they come back on the occasion of our K-5 graduation, and they march in front of those K-5 students. That's modeling who those K-5 students will become. So we've started some of our own traditions in Ready Academy.
I know sometimes some people look at us and always see a nice car or a house, you know, and somebody else got to have something that they want to throw up in your face. But you got to look at the good.
That's right.
Look at the good. Mm-hmm. You help somebody. What a beautiful thing to help somebody.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, you don't know. You don't know. Mm-hmm. You might be standing tall and look with your head up high. And one day, you might be on the ground.
But not all impact starts in leadership. Sometimes it begins in the pews. And sometimes it starts with one person walking in on a Sunday and deciding, this is home.
And I have been at this church since 1966. The reason I came here, I was living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And when I left there, I came to Norfolk to live with my only sister, because this is where she was. I had two small children, and they would be able to be playmates to their little cousins. So as soon as I got here, I came to church with her one day, and I said, okay, I will join this church. I decided that the first day because I had been brought up in a church, and I felt like that's something I should be doing. My grandfather was a Baptist minister. My grandfather on my mother's side was a deacon of a Baptist church. My grandmother was the organist at the Baptist church, and my mother was the pianist. So I knew where I should be. And I decided to come here to First Baptist and have been here ever since.
This church was so familiar with the church I left in the Bronx, New York, Parkchester Baptist Church. There was so much, it was just like deja vu. The songs they sang, the people reminded me of other people that I was associated with. And at one point, I just thought, wow, this is the church. So I joined First Baptist Church shortly after I moved here, and I have been pleased as pie ever since then. And the only way I intend to leave First Baptist Church is if the Lord decides He's ready for me to come home, or if He tells me to go to another church.
I became a member in February of 1996, and I joined along with my late husband, Deacon Aubrey Filio, and my mother, Vivian Rose Burden. And it's just been just an honor, just to worship with so many warm people. A lot of them I knew from previous working at the Postal Service or even my former church, Mount Olive Baptist Church. But I've always enjoyed the family of First Baptist Church?
I've had two.
Okay.
And the first one was when my mother passed. And I was at the house at my sister's home in Norfolk, and I got the call that, she was doing something, I don't know. But what had happened was, when I got there, she had already passed. Mm-hmm. And Bruce said, let me call Reverend Maury. And I always knew he was special, mm-hmm. but at this point, when he asked Bruce to put me on the phone, and I could hear the choir singing, because I was on my way to church for Easter service.
Okay.
And he talked to me, and he prayed. And I'm telling you, I heard the music, the choir singing, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I felt special mm-hmm. that he took that time out. Even though he was supposed to be up there on the pulpit, but he didn't. He had that moment with me then.
Yes.
And the next one was with when Bruce passed, and I had Reverend Holmes, Reverend Lee, and even Reverend Maury came when he went in ICU, and Miss Amanda. But that showed me how much of a family church mm-hmm. this was. I knew it when I first came, but I felt like, well, I wasn't raised up in this church. I was raised up in a holiness church.
Okay.
So coming to a Baptist church, is, to me, now they're like holiness almost, but I really felt the warmth.
This is the impact of the members, not just what they receive, but what they return. Love, time, talent, legacy.
It is so important, and you are a prime example of passing that baton. I like to think about First Baptist as an intergenerational church. So we have from, children's altar, children's church, up through the singles ministry, the couples ministry, the seniors in action, and all of these people, were involved, and they continue to be involved and feel a part of. But what's so exciting now is to see that generation that you were the youth minister for. Now they are the young adults, and they are taking their leadership roles. We look at Reverend Travis, a prime example of coming up through youth ministry and now leading youth ministry. So yes, the church has to always be open to those from within as well as those from the outside.
When you again, as you start to look at the future and you think about the next generation, you think about the youth that's involved in your church and your community, one of the things that I strongly suggest is not to wait and make them an addendum to what you do, but sew them into the fabric. One of the great things that we were able to do in the past, and we need to revisit even more, is not just having a youth Sunday where you pack all of their interests, their choir, their little people ushering, their praise dance, all those wonderful things that we do, but how do I sew it into every Sunday of the worship experience? Why don't I separate some of those things and have my youth ushers on one Sunday, my youth choir on another, and so that again, it involves them in the entire process. You want your young people to feel comfortable so that their friends and neighbors, they feel like they can bring them home. They have an environment in which they are celebrated. We honor them and encourage them. And so we constantly always doing our shout outs to our young people. We try to make intentional investments into their life. One of the things I was fortunate to be able to do coming into this role is to stop and have town hall meetings just with youth and young adults. And one of the questions I asked was, what was the most impactful day that you have ever had at First Baptist? And I got a lot of different answers, but it was consistent with this theme, when the church made intentional efforts for me to know Christ. And so we have to make those investments. We have to, again, show that intentionality, and all of the ministries coming around to be able to celebrate our future. If the church is not going to celebrate them, the world certainly will, and will offer them something else.
From the longest tenured saints To the brand new members, First Baptist Butte Street is more than a church. It is a body of believers building each other. Chapter 4, Community Impact. First Baptist Church Butte Street has always believed that ministry doesn't stop at the altar. It walks into neighborhoods. It partners with cities. It addresses hunger, housing, and human dignity. This is what community impact looks like.
If it had not been for First Baptist, I don't believe the St. Paul transformation, even before Aspire came to fruition, just very early on. You think about a mayor in a city and a housing authority looking at housing transformation primarily in the heart of downtown, over 700, close to 700 units, 618 units thereabout, are going to be demolished. People are going to be relocated. They will have a right to return. Without First Baptist helping messaging that and helping First Baptist believing in the work and joining the work, being on the SPAC team, coming to the SPAC meetings, St. Paul Advisory Board Committee. If First Baptist had not been at the table, I don't think the project would have happened. Now, today, not only Aspire, but there are other buildings, and those buildings, as Aspire, are furnished with amenities that are in some developments in other parts of the city and other parts of the region, where people are knocking the door that's down to go live. There's appliances, there's central air, there's some stainless steel in some places, there's some hardwood in some places, there's some granite in some places, there's structured parking, things that people didn't believe were going to happen. But because First Baptist Church was the validator, I'm the government. People know me, say, well, Mr. Mayor, we know you, we trust you. But you're elected and you may move on and you may not always be in that seat. And that's when First Baptist showed up. So you know what? We have vetted this. We're going to be present. We're going to make sure that everything that the city and the Housing Authority promised, that they deliver. And but for, here it is, but for First Baptist Church being involved in the St. Paul transformation, that transformational project that will be recorded in history as one of the transformational eras in our city, took place largely because of First Baptist Church, was that influencer and validator, and communicating to the people that we're watching, we're here, we're going to make sure they dot every I, cross every T. We're not going to rubber stamp anything. And because First Baptist stepped up and joined that effort, that's a transformation project that will be talked about for many, many, many years to come.
That relationship isn't just political, it's practical. First Baptist saw what the community lacked and helped fill the gap. Whether food or shelter, the church became a place where needs were met and dignity was restored.
When I think about stepping into this role and the impact or the involvement or the challenges and all, I think it comes with, again, living out that idea of being a leader for the city of Norfolk. There's this great quote that says this about First Baptist Church. In the tradition of the Black church, First Baptist stands as the backbone and the reservoir of strength for the Norfolk community. And so I wanted to make sure that, again, we lived up to that challenge. Not just be people that come in to worship on Sunday, but people that made this invisible God visible to the world by taking ministry in a greater way out to our community. The church, during Dr. Murray's leadership, purchased a building, what we call the 522 East Butte Street building, our outreach building. It had the name there, but what we were able to come and do, once again, build off the legacy. Here's the thought, but now let's start to live it out where we're feeding over 2,000 people per month. We're doing about 250 clothing items each week, as well as offering those who are unhoused an opportunity to come and be bathed, clean themselves, get new clothes and toiletries so they can go back out again with some sense of dignity and pride. Again, building off what was thought and now moving it in a greater way to the community. When you think about the future and where we're going, I think we continue to drive a holistic ministry where we understand that the spiritual life of an individual is the most important thing. But how do we come alongside that, as Jesus would do with, say, a man who was laying on a mat? He gave him the ability to get up and walk, and also deal with his spiritual side by saying, let's not sin anymore. So as a holistic ministry, we're feeding, we're clothing, we're showering. But what does employment opportunities look like? How do we help people to be able to not just be satisfied for that day, but change the trajectory of their families and their lives by being gainfully employed? That's a very important part for us, along with mental illness, along with the overall health of our community.
And then came a new vision, not just for charity, but for long-term change. That vision became Aspire at Church Street, a housing development built from faith, forged through partnership.
You know, this is a more than $27 million investment, creating more than 187 construction jobs and more permanent jobs in the city of Norfolk. This modern housing community will exceed inequality and amenities included in many full-rate apartment communities in the region.
The church's CDC, ISA of Virginia, led the charge, blending spiritual purpose with city planning and state support.
Today, we celebrate the groundbreaking for Aspire, a place that is so much more than a building. And as the folks at Richmond Group would say, and ISA will tell you, Aspire represents a place where not only someone can lay their head, but also lift their head with various programmings for residents and a full art studio. We want our future residents to feel inspired by the development, but more importantly, we hope this will be a community where individuals aspire to achieve a full high quality of life. That is our collective mission.
Today, we gather at the groundbreaking of the future site of Aspire Apartments, located here at the corner of Church Street and Brambleton Avenue in the great city of Norfolk. We gather here to say thank you to God for our Community Development Corporation, ISA of Virginia, and the partnership between ISA of Virginia and the Richmond Group. We give thanks for this location that will be used entirely for the glory of the Lord. We stand here proud of this future building that will be built and dedicated to God's glory and His church. The city of Norfolk owes much of its rise to greatness to the congregation of the historic First Baptist Church on Butte Street. We are the oldest Baptist church in the city of Norfolk.
When the Aspire project launched, the community didn't just break ground, it lifted hope.
We all should hope to aspire to inspire communities and cities across the Commonwealth on what housing for all looks like. Thank you to all who participated in this relay, from a vision to planning and now reality. Housing for all, quality housing for all. I think it's just amazing what you all have produced and what this project will produce. We talk about our young scholars, we talk about our seniors and working families, and this is what a project gets to be for them, that they get to come home to. They get to say, I live there. I work right up on Church Street, and I have to tell you, I've been stalking y'all a little bit, coming down the extended Church Street, and every time, every month, I was just wowed by, wow, look at those colors. Look at those smiles. And honestly, you saw people going to work every day with smiles on their faces because they knew what they were doing and the purpose of what they were doing it for.
Community impact isn't measured in square footage. It's measured in dignity, in meals, in healing, in housing, and in how far a church is willing to go to serve the people outside the doors.
My mind was just sort of like a sort of camera, and it kind of went back the time in which the world was, just a turmoil. But how persons would have difficulty in terms of feeding their families and caring for themselves. When cold, we're feeding, we're taking care of heat for families. But the deacons of this church would collect the wood that was thrown away or fire was created to take care of their families. They would have fire to warm their houses. The deacons of the church would fire. I know when they would take and collect those ashes and those fires, fire
the wood and the coal, and give it to the members.
It's that kind of spirit. Yeah. I'll try to do all I can to help my neighbor.
Chapter 5, Future of the Church. After 225 years, the question isn't, what has First Baptist done? It's, where is First Baptist going? The future of this church doesn't just live in planning documents. It lives in people, in purpose, and in an unshakable faith.
When I think about leading this congregation of 225 years of age, is a incredible honor. First of all, to be the 20th pastor to come to serve at this church. I've been a part of for now some 30 years, and so me already being in the overall fabric of the church has made this transition amazing. It has allowed us to be quick to what you would call quick to the market and getting started. Church and pastor coming together to work together has been incredible because we build off the foundation of others. We don't start brand new with necessarily innovative things, but yet building on the legacy while yet adding a little more to it at the same time. We're 225 years of age in July of this year, and we're excited not only what God is doing now, but what He'll do through the future of this church. This church has made a difference in the city of Norfolk from its inception, and still today serves as a flagship to many other churches in our community. And so, Lady J, is a few things you want to share as well.
I guess I would say that we as a couple are honored and feel privileged to serve at this point in time. We know that this is a calling for us. It's a calling for the church. We rest on the shoulders of those who came before us, which is what allows us to be here and celebrate this 225 years. My prayer is that we as a church continue to support each other, continue to fellowship with each other, continue to serve our community, continue to love on each other, continue to pray for each other. We as a people will be stronger together if we do those things.
Pastor Jerry Holmes doesn't just carry the legacy, he carries a vision. One built on service, inclusion, and sustainability.
I think when we can get to people to deal with being authentic, it's not about who I am in terms of words or to be able to judge others or that, but to love others and realize how can I do more. And the things that we've done in terms of educational approach, that people can say, I want to know how to do what I do. And that's to hear God's word come to me. Now, we don't have the grandeur of a whole lot of churches in terms of how big the internally. You don't worry about that. The Lord will make a way to the aspect of the gifts that He gives out. But persons have an opportunity to see God moving in their lives, and in their lives, and then in their family lives. But they will continue to grow to be all that God wants them to be. And you not have to go into being a licensed minister, but you can gain from God's word to you and go stronger and stronger and stronger. And I believe that we've tried to move this section off in terms of our church to learn how to listen to the Lord. You'll know when those special moments in your life will come.
The people of First Baptist are not just repeating history, they are writing the next chapter. Whether through Ready Academy, Aspire Housing, Sunday worship, or Wednesday outreach, the future is being built one step at a time. The future of First Baptist Church, Butte Street, is not a date on a calendar. It's a call to grow, to serve, to love, and to keep the story going.